Mistral just dropped a moderation model. It runs on 1 GPU. It costs nothing per call. 0. Not a discount, not a free tier that expires. 0. And if your product has a line item called safety filtering, an AWS bill called Comprehend, or a monthly invoice from Hive or Perspective, your number just became optional. It's called Shieldstral. I'm going to show you exactly what it does, who it kills, and the one move to make this week before your competitor makes it first. Quick context, because most business owners have never heard of moderation as a line item, and their developers have been quietly paying it for years. Every product that touches user input runs a safety check on the way in and on the way out. Someone types a message, someone posts a comment, someone asks your AI assistant a question. Before that reaches your product's brain, and before your product's reply reaches them, a filter has to check for the ugly stuff. Threats, abuse, sexual content involving minors, hate speech, instructions to build a weapon. Skip the check and you get sued, deplatformed, or your App Store account gets nuked. So you don't skip it, you outsource it, you pay per call. The 3 big paid names are AWS Comprehend, Hive, and Perspective. They charge per call. At a few million user messages a month, the bill is real. For a product doing 10 million user actions a month, the vendor invoice is $1,000 to $3,000 depending on which one you signed with. A car payment, every month, just to have someone else's model tell you whether a comment is toxic. Shieldstral does the same job. Text, images, and mixed content in one model. Free license. Runs on a single 16GB GPU, which on a spot instance rents for about 40 cents an hour. Flat fee, unlimited calls. And here is the part that made me sit up. You change what counts as unsafe by editing one sentence. Not retraining a classifier, not switching vendors, one sentence. Stay with me. The receipts I'm about to walk through decide whether you talk to your developer this week or next quarter. Let me name names. AWS Comprehend charges per unit. At the volumes a growing product actually hits, the monthly bill runs into thousands. Hive charges per API call for content moderation, and their enterprise pricing is negotiated because it gets uncomfortable to publish. Perspective from Google is free at low volume, and slows to a rate limit that any serious product outgrows in a week. All of them just got a free self-hosted competitor with an Apache 2.0 license. Apache 2.0 means you can run it commercially, modify it, ship it inside your product, and you owe Mistral nothing. Not now, not later. Mistral shipped this with the license OpenAI wishes their models had. I ran the checks myself. First I hit Mistral's announcement page, HTTP 257,000 bytes. The word Shieldstral appears 31 times, multimodal 15 times, Apache 2.0 confirmed, shipped, real, not vaporware. Mistral has a habit of announcing things at conferences that don't hit developer platforms for weeks. Not this time. The model card went live on the same day as the blog post. Then I probed HuggingFace, which is where developers actually download open models. The model card is up. It is called mistral.ai/Shieldstral 1.03b. License field says Apache-2.0. The weights file is sitting there, downloadable today, and the download counter is already ticking. I asked Claude to write me the exact configuration a developer would post to a moderation endpoint for a mental health support app. Instruct block, allow discussion of suicidal ideation, block explicit method instructions. Query, does the document violate policy, yes or no? Claude wrote it in one shot, 2 paragraphs of plain English, no retraining, no vendor lock-in, no PhD required. Here is the moment that decides the whole video for a business owner. I asked for the break-even math against AWS Comprehend. Shieldstral on a 40 cent per hour GPU costs $288 a month, flat no matter how many calls you run. At 500,000 calls a month, Comprehend costs $50. Shieldstral costs $288. You are paying $238 more to self-host. Bad move. Stay on Comprehend. At 5 million calls, Comprehend costs $500. Shieldstral still costs $288. You save $212 a month. At 50 million calls, Comprehend runs you $5,000. Shieldstral is still $288. You just kept $4,712 a month. At 500 million calls, you kept $49,712 a month. A person, a hire. A full-time engineer for a year, sitting inside one line item, that you are bleeding right now because nobody sent you the memo. $50,000 a year is a marketing hire, it is a full agency retainer, it is the difference between another 6 months of runway and running out. If you found this even a third of the way useful, subscribe. The whole point of the channel is you seeing this the week it happens, not the quarter your competitor already moved. Now the fun part, because free models get released every week and most of them do not matter. What makes Shieldstral matter is not that it is free, it is what free unlocks. Every founder I have talked to who runs a chat product, an AI product, or a marketplace has the same complaint about paid moderation AP is. The vendor picked a taxonomy, 10 categories, none of them yours. Run a mental health app and you need to allow content the vendor's default policy blocks. Run a security research tool and you need to allow prompts the vendor's default policy blocks. Run a kids app and you need to block things the vendor's default policy waves through. Under the old model, you either switched vendors, paid for a custom classifier, or ran a second layer of your own filters on top. Every one of those choices cost engineering time and money. Shieldstral changes it. You write your policy in English, you paste it into the Instruct field at inference time, you redeploy. Done. The same model serves a mental health app, a kids app, and a security dev tool, with 3 different policies. No retraining, no new model, 1 system, 3 configurations. Here is the moat that just opened. Not the moderation itself, the speed at which you can change what your product allows. If your competitor is on a paid vendor with a fixed taxonomy, they cannot ship a feature until their vendor supports it. You can ship it in an afternoon. Real example. A dating app on a paid moderation vendor learned they could not allow their users to send flirty messages because the vendor's default policy flagged suggestive language as unsafe. It took the app 6 weeks to get a custom policy approved. On Shieldstral, 1 sentence in the Instruct field and a redeploy. 6 weeks becomes 10 minutes. Verification, open HuggingFace.co right now, search Shieldstral. Look at the license field on the model card, it says Apache-2.0. That is the proof, not me telling you. Here is the move for the week. Talk to your developer, ask them one question. What are we paying for content moderation and where does it show up on the AWS bill or the vendor invoice? If the number is under $200 a month, ignore this video, you have bigger fish. If the number is over $200 a month, you have a $4,000 to $50,000 a year mistake sitting on your books, and it is the easiest cut you will make this quarter. Second, ask them to wire Shieldstral in shadow mode. Both moderation systems run at the same time for a week. Yours is still the paid vendor. Shieldstral watches from the sidelines. You compare decisions on real traffic. You catch the edge cases. Nothing changes for users. After the shadow week, if Shieldstral matches or beats the paid API on your traffic, flip the switch. The entire workflow. An afternoon of your developer's time, a week of quiet observation, 1 switch. Every engineer I trust said the same thing when I ran this past them. The hard part is not the model, the hard part is choosing your policy sentence, and the founder writes that, not the developer. The founders who ship this in the next 4 weeks get the window. The ones who wait for a case study in 6 months are the case study in a competitor's pitch deck. Everything I broke down today, the exact prompts, the Instruct block templates for the 6 most common product categories, the shadow mode wiring diagram, the break-even calculator for your call volume, all of it lives inside the Church of SEO Jesus, my free school community. Founders in there are already trading Shieldstral configs against their old paid APIs, and the wins get posted to the feed as they land. Free to join, link in the description and pinned in the comments. Get in before your competitors do, and next video I am tearing down what actually happened to search traffic on 3 sites that migrated to LLM first content last month, and one of them is not what anyone predicted.